Hi everyone and welcome. Tonight we're going to be talking about the PSAT. We're going to be talking about why the PSAT matters. We're also going to be interpreting your results, and we are also going to be talking about how you can use those results to help you prepare for the SAT or the ACT. Before I introduce myself, I want to take this time to thank John for inviting me out tonight to talk to in front of all of you. Secondly, I want to thank you, the parents, for coming out. I know that you all are very busy, especially students and sports and clubs and things like that. So definitely thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to come. Lastly, I'm sure everyone will have a lot of questions here tonight. I'm going to try to answer as much of them as possible, but I am hoping that you can hold your questions till the end of the presentation, where I'll make myself available and I'll stay as long as possible to answer all those questions. And I'm sure most of those questions will be answered in the presentation. So, a little bit about myself. So my name is Vince. I was born and raised here in the Bay Area. I went to high school at Mopias High School. Then I took my studies to UC Davis, where I graduated in 2006. Since then, I've been working in education. I've been working with elementary school students, middle school students, as well as high school students. I have been here with Revolution for just a little over 4 months, but this is not the first time that I've worked with students and preparing them for the SAT or the ACT. One of the things that I found very fascinating is that a lot of these students, in preparing for the SAT, they don't have a lot of information. So that's what I'm here to do tonight, is to provide you with as much information as possible so that you can use that information and figure out how you want to prepare for the SAT or ACT. So here's a few things that we're going to be covering tonight. The first thing, like I said, we're going to be going over why testing matters, why the PSAT matters, why the SAT matters, and why the ACT matters. Secondly, we're going to be going through your PSAT score results. Each of you have been given a score report, so I'll be going through each section in detail about how you can use those results to help prepare for the SAT or ACT. Third, we're going to be talking about how you're going to be going from the PSAT to the SAT or the ACT. And then we'll also spend some time talking about the ACT and the SAT subject test. And finally, we're going to be talking about the testing timeline. We're going to be showing the students here as to when they should be taking the SAT or ACT and how to prepare themselves to do the best they can. So first off, why does testing matter? Why do we need these tests? So one thing what I want to do right now is to kind of take some time and to talk to the students. So you, Jason, how much time do you spend in school each day? Okay, about 8 hours a day. And how much do you spend working towards your grades? So doing homework, preparing for projects, studying for exams. So aside from the 8 hours of school that you're in each day, how much time do you think you're spending outside of that working on your grades? Okay, well, another 2 or 3 hours. So that makes sense. So each student, they usually spend an average about 10 hours a day working on their grades or something towards school. So first off, I want us to take a look at this slide that we have here. So only concentrate on the big output for now. As you can see, about 50% of this graph is directed towards the transcript. So you as students, what you're going to see is you're going to be spending about 50% of your time in high school working towards your transcript, right? So all those hours that you're putting in, 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, for 4 years, is going to go towards building this application, and 50% of that goes towards that transcript. So we're talking about your grades. Colleges are also going to look at what classes you took, whether or not you took AP exams or AP courses, whether or not you took foreign languages. So all of that plays a role into your college application. Secondly, as you can see here, we have standardized testing. Okay, so standardized testing takes up about 25 to 35% of your college application. Okay, so Jason, going back to you, how much time do you think you prepare for a standardized test? So in preparation for the SAT or the ACT, how much time do you think you'll be spending? Okay, so about 15 to 20 hours. So that's good. So what we have found is that for a majority of the students, on average, they're spending about 10 hours preparing for the SAT or ACT. But if we're thinking about how much time students are spending in school compared to how much time they're spending for these standardized tests, it's basically minimal or very slim. But as you can see from this pie chart, standardized testing takes up 25 to 35% of your college application. Okay. Now, finally, the third piece in this pie chart is the other section. So colleges like to take a look at what else you do outside of preparing for your transcript, outside of your SAT, ACT test scores. So whether or not that be in sports, if you participate in sports, you do track and field, you play football, whether or not you're in clubs, any volunteer work that you do. So everything else that you do outside of school in preparation for your college application. Okay, so to just recap, so about 50% of your college application is going to be geared toward looking at your transcript. About 25 to 35% is going to be based on your SAT, ACT test score. And then about another 25% is going to be based on everything else that you do. So like I said, sports, clubs, whatever that may be. So we looked at the big output, so now I want to look at a smaller input. Okay, so Jason, you said you would spend probably about 10 to 15 hours on preparing for the standardized test for the SAT or ACT, correct? Good. Okay, so let's just kind of go back and calculate how that compares to whatever else you're doing. So if a student is spending about 10 to 15 hours preparing for the SAT, ACT, comparing to what else they do, so in average school day, kids are preparing for 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, 4 years. That's basically an average of 8,000 hours that the students are putting into their transcript. Okay, so outside of that, they're doing sports and clubs, and we found that on average, students are preparing 1,000 hours over the 4 years. So if we're looking at how big a role standardized testing plays, it makes no sense that students are preparing so low amount of hours, right? If you were to take the 10 hours compared to the 8,000 hours that they're spending in school over 4 years, wouldn't you think that most students should be spending a little bit more time? Now, we're not saying that you should be spending anywhere between 1,000 or 2,000 hours towards the SAT or ACT, but we think that you should be spending a little bit more time. As you can see, it plays a huge part of the college application. Okay. So what is the PSAT? Anybody have any idea as to what the PSAT is? No? Okay. So basically the PSAT is a practice version of the SAT. It's very similar to the SAT. So for sophomores, this was the first time that you were exposed to standardized tests or college admission testing. So this test was very long. For juniors, this was a chance for you to qualify for a National Merit Program. And for everyone else, it's basically an opportunity to find out where you stand and just to get some practice as to what you are to expect from the PSAT or from the SAT and the ACT. Okay, now what I want to do now is just kind of look at the PSAT. So for students, if you can think back as to how that went, this is what happened on the day that you took the PSAT. So the total time for the PSAT is 2 hours and 10 minutes. So the PSAT is broken down into 5 different sections. As you can see here, each section varies anywhere between 25 to 30 minutes. 30 minutes being the writing section. Critical reading, parts 1 and 2, and also math, parts 1 and 2 are 25 minutes each. So how the PSAT is set up is that students are going to be spending 25 minutes in each subject and then moving on to the next section. So they're always alternating. Anybody have any questions